we have had, but we have had a very large variety of people. Yeah, we have. So it,
Yeah, we can start now.
Good evening to all.
Well, welcome to this yet another most interesting evening of Manthan with someone who has the respect of not just us here at Manthan, but from across the country. It's a delight to have Mr. Dushyant Dave with us for the second time. Many of you may remember his brilliant talk on the Constitution and the country at Manthan, some work that he has been doing. One of the most outstanding which are devoted so much time on to bring accountability in public administration, to get justice to suffering citizens in cases involving violations of fundamental and human rights. He has been active and promoting issues at various fora like the National Legal Services Authority, the International Commercial Arbitration and of the London Court. He is a member of the board of directors of the American Arbitration Association and many other things. He is the president of the Supreme Court Bar Association and has played a phenomenal role in as representing the legal fraternity. So I consider him a hero here in this country, and therefore it is nice to have Dushyant Bhai here. Dushyant Bhai, welcome to you. And I'm sure people will learn a lot listening to you. All yours now, sir.
Namaskar and good evening to everyone. Thank you, Ajay Bhai, thank you, Vikram Bhai, and thank you, Manthan, for having me this evening. Manthan is one of the most vibrant platforms to discuss and debate issues affecting our lives. I congratulate Ajay Bhai, Vikram Bhai and their team and all of you who solidly are connected to it in your endeavor. Manthan Dialogues makes me feel that democracy is safe. I feel privileged to be here this evening and thank Manthan and all for being here to listen to my thoughts on the Constitution, rule of law and governance during COVID-19. Let me begin this talk with a little caveat. Satyam bruyat, priyam bruyat, na bruyat, satyam apriyat. Be truthful and sweet in speech, but do not speak out unpleasant truth. I must begin with an apology that I intend to speak unpleasant truth this evening, and I seek your forgiveness in that. Let me begin the rationale for this discussion. When we decided to have this topic, we really were very serious about the state of the country. And the rationale for this topic and today's debate has been most brilliantly expressed by then President of Kosovo, a small nation, Mr. Atifet Jahagiajo. He said, and I quote, and these are amazing words, and I'm surprised nobody in India has ever spoken these words. I quote him, democracy must be built through open societies that share information. When there is information, there is enlightenment. Where there is debate, there are solutions. When there is no showing of power, sharing of power, when there is no sharing of power, no rule of law, no accountability, there is abuse, corruption, subjugation, and indignation. Now that's really the state that we perhaps may be today. Today's India is reeling under lack of information and at times disinformation. There are hardly any debates on the issues of fundamental importance. Nation wants to debate Sushant Singh Rajput's unfortunate death, we are told. or at best, arrival of 5 Rafale fighter jets from France. We are inundated with every detail on the life of late Mr. Sushant Singh Rajput and his friends and servants. We are told the minute path of the Rafale jets arriving into India. But we are not told about the sufferings of the masses, the large-scale unemployment, the miseries of the farmers, the non-functioning of the parliament and its committees, the half-baked functioning of the judiciary, depriving thousands from much-awaited justice. In passing, yes, but not in detail. Certainly not in required information and definitely not in debates. Has India been informed why between January 23rd, when China declared COVID-19 as a pandemic, and mind you, the World Health COVID-19, have we been informed why as late as February 24, over 1 lakh people gathered in Ahmedabad to watch the Trump saga? And mind you, on 4th of February 2020, if I recollect correctly, Government of India through Ministry of Home Affairs had issued a strong advisory against public gatherings. Have we been informed what was the amount of effect, or what was the scale of the effect of COVID spread due to these lapses? Have we been informed on what basis lockdown was declared on March 23rd, giving nation of 130 crore people just 6 hours notice, combined with imposition of Section 144 notifications across the cities, stoppage of trains and buses, leaving hundreds of millions stranded at unwanted places. Where was expert advice sought by the government? If yes, was it followed? Were these issues affecting our lives and livelihood debated at all? The bitter truth is that they have not been. But we debated Nizamuddin Markaz for weeks, resulting in criminalization of sickness, FIRs and arrests of hundreds, if not thousands, unfortunate, people belonging to minority community who were stranded due to sudden and severe lockdown. We demonized the entire community of 150 million citizens belonging to this country. Was this not anti-national to create hatred amongst us? Yet no action has been taken against the perpetrators of false and vicious campaign. Last week, fortunately, and hats off to the division bench of the Bombay High Court, Aurangabad bench, it has struck down some of the FIRs against certain foreign Muslim gentlemen who had arrived from Indonesia. And while doing so, the High Court has strongly criticized the approach of the authorities in arresting them, in taking action against them, and that COVID-19 sickness could not have been criminalized in this fashion. The High Court has particularly spoken about the role played by the media in spreading hatred in that. And I therefore feel really relieved that the High Court has gone into it and really taken this very seriously. Could India have protected itself better against the effects of COVID-19 if right steps were taken by the end of January? Maybe, maybe not. Critics may say it is all right to talk in hindsight. No, I say it speaks of vision. Vision on the part of those who are entrusted by us, we the people, to govern and not to misgovern. Current pandemic situation is so grave for the nation and its people that it demands sharing of power between those in governance and those governed. What we need today very seriously is participatory democracy. If that is missing, and it does appear to be missing, then there will be no rule of law, no accountability, and it will result in abuse, corruption, subjugation, and indignation. We must prevent this. There is no denying that the Prime Minister of India means well, but the absolute discretion with him does not augur well for our democracy. Demonetization and lockdown are two examples which remind us of the limitations of even the most popular leader. Severe damage to the economy, its growth, loss of production and services, reduced exports, and most of all, loss of millions of jobs are direct results of the abrupt political decisions taken by him. Dr. Ambedkar had forewarned us, saying, not to lay, and I quote him, not to lay our liberties at the feet of even a great man, or to trust him with powers which enable him to subvert the institutions. What he meant, the democratic institutions, to maintain democracy. So in a situation like this, Constitution plays an important part more than any other times. Constitution is a contract amongst us, the citizens, for the conduct of our nation. It is a fundamental document which defines power and position of the three organs of the state, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary. It also defines the powers of the executive and legislature as against the citizens. For example, the fundamental rights. The purpose of Constitution is not merely to create the organs of the state, but to limit their authority. If no limitation was imposed, Dr. Ambedkar said on 17 September 1949 in the Constituent Assembly, and I quote, there will be complete tyranny and complete oppression. The legislature may be free to frame any law. The executive may be free to take any decision. And the Supreme Court may be free to give any interpretation of the law. It would result in utter chaos. Are we in chaos? This is something each of us have to ponder and answer for ourselves. It is said, power and knowledge do not go together. Oftentimes, they are disassociated. Constitution may give power, but not wisdom to exercise that power. That depends on what is broadly understood as constitutional morality, which means paramount reverence for all forms of the Constitution. It is also described as an emotion to be created amongst leaders and through them amongst the masses. Diffusion of this morality, respect for the Constitution, is the indispensable condition of governance at once free and peaceable. Dr. Ambedkar had declared, democracy in India is only the top dressing of an Indian soil, which essentially is undemocratic. Aristotle had once said, stability of a constitution is the education of citizens in the spirit of the Constitution. Albert Einstein put it even more pithily when he said, the strength of the Constitution lies in the determination of each citizen to defend it. Can we say that today we are having a functional democracy with legislatures shut and judiciary virtually shut since March 23rd? Has this led to tyranny and oppression, as predicted by Dr. Ambedkar, is for each of us to realize. Parliament has not been able to debate much, less challenge the government for its decision taken since March 23rd and imposed on 130 crore people. Judiciary has virtually, if not completely, refused to intervene on specious ground that in policy matters it will not intervene. Executive has been left free to take any decision without any limitation, contrary to the spirit of the Constitution. Rule of law is the basic structure of the Constitution, as has been held by Supreme Court time and again. Theory that king can do no wrong was demolished almost 200 years ago in England when Chief Justice Edward Coke held that king should be under the God and the law. Be you ever so high, the law is above you, is the principle that governs every democracy. Rule of law means supremacy of law and equality before the law. Professor Dicey, one of the most leading exponents of Constitution and rule of law, said, and I quote him, with us, every official from the Prime Minister down to the constable is under the same responsibility of every act done without legal justification as any other citizen. In a decent society, and I believe we are, it is unthinkable that government or any officer of the government possesses arbitrary power over the person or the interest of an individual, and that effective judicial remedies are more important than abstract constitutional declarations in securing right of the individual against violations of the state. Now, this is very important. You can't have abstract theories and not effective judicial remedies. This is the time when effective judicial remedies are a condition precedent for every citizen of the country. Justice H.R. Khanna, one of the greatest, perhaps the greatest judge post-independence in India, during emergency in ADM Jabalpur's case, the famous or rather infamous ADM Jabalpur case, in his powerful dissent said, rule of law is the antithesis of arbitrariness. In all civilized societies, it has been regarded as the mark of free society. Majority of the judges didn't agree with Justice Khanna, and this included Senior Justice Chandrachud, Justice Bhagwati, who has been considered to be one of the finest judges of the country. And the majority in that judgment said that fundamental rights need not be enforced during emergency, and that the Supreme Court need not give citizens the benefit of fundamental rights. Now, this is one of the most disgraceful judgments in the history of the Supreme Court. And both Justice Chandrachud and Justice Bhagwati, before their deaths, apologized to the nation for the judgment. But what is important is that at a time in emergency, when we needed the judges, when we needed our Supreme Court, it failed us. It was only Justice Khanna who stood tall. We are not in emergency as at the present, as it is known in the Constitution. Yet we saw from March 23rd, for months on, how millions of Indians who happen to be migrant workers, keeping the wheels of the economy moving, were deprived of their basic human rights and fundamental rights under the Constitution. 6 hours to lockdown proved to be a disaster for them and the nation. Their plight brought tears into the eyes of sensitive Indians, but the government did not budge. They did not restart trains and buses. They did not provide food and shelter on the way. Instead, governments even closed borders on the states, forcing already crucified human beings to stay under sun and rain. They were even sprayed with pesticides to wash them of their sins of wanting to go home. They lost jobs, their livelihood, their homes in shanties, and their belongings. But more than that, they suffered pain and humiliation. And believe you me, Supreme Court has time and again said that right to life under Article 21 of the Constitution of India includes right to live with dignity. We deprived them of their dignity. Millions and millions of Indians. Did the government not envision this problem before declaring a sudden lockdown? Did it not know